So we missed out one question in the recording, but I'll just do a run through of it later. Okay, so this is a fairly easy question, but there's one important conceptual point in this, and I'll come to this. Okay, so just try out the full logic of this first. Okay, then we'll discuss the solution. Okay, so now the concept here that, acha, have you got the answer, anybody? Yeah, let me just check. So can you tell me in terms of wavelength how much it is? It has to be minimum distance he has to move. In terms of wavelength कितना होना चाहिए? So see if the, yeah, I'll just check. Yes, that's correct, Somodi. Good. So see if the direct distance is from the source is some x. Okay. If this direct distance is x and the distance from the wall is x prime. Okay. So you can see that for the direct sound, the path length is x. Okay. For the echo, the path length is, let's say, x2, which is x plus 2x prime. Okay. So the path difference is 2x prime. Okay. Now, one very important concept to understand here, though it makes no difference to the answer, that for sound waves, reflection from a rigid boundary creates no phase change. I'll discuss this in a moment. Okay. In transverse waves, it was the other way around, but in sound waves, creates no phase change. Okay. Whereas a soft boundary creates phase inversion. Delta phi equal to pi. So this is an important concept. Now we'll examine this, okay, before we move back to the question. So the concept here is that a rigid boundary, for example, like a wall, it is a pressure antinode. Okay. So we think of this in one dimensional sense. In sense of one dimensional way, if we visualize this, okay, the conclusion we will come to is like this, that if we have that windpipe where, let's say, on this side we have a piston kind of thing which we are moving back and forth, so it's creating sound waves which are traveling in this direction. But on the other side here we have a rigid wall. So what is happening is that the air molecules near the wall, okay, the air molecules at x equal to L, they are having a displacement node. They cannot move. They cannot move along the x-axis. So therefore, it implies they have a pressure . antinode. Or another way to understand it is that due to the rigid wall, okay, the compression or the volume stress is maximum. Okay. So as far as the behavior of the pressure wave is concerned, it acts like a no phase inversion for reflection. Okay. So if we create an impulse which is traveling along the x-axis, so this is pressure. By pressure we mean the volume stress. Okay. This is traveling like this. So as this moves, okay, along this direction, when it reaches here, it will do this. Because that point is the point where the wall is present. So it will reach, if this amplitude was P naught, it will reach an amplitude of 2 P naught. And then only it will reflect back. The wall was present. Okay. So the reflected pulse it has no phase inversion. So in a nutshell, you can just remember that for longitudinal waves, the nature of phase relationship for reflection at a boundary is opposite for what you have learned for transverse waves. Yes, you can just note down this wave, this point and this point. For pressure waves or sound waves, reflection from a rigid boundary results in no phase inversion, whereas reflection from a soft boundary, now I'll tell you what a soft boundary means also, but it's not important in this particular question. Okay, so the thing is, you'll see in this particular question, even if you made the mistake of assuming some phase inversion, because it's a rigid boundary, it will make no difference to your answer. But as a factual thing, you should understand here that from a rigid boundary, there is no phase inversion for a reflected pulse. Yes, this is one point of difference. Okay, which will become more significant for us when we discuss about standing waves. Okay, now what we mean by a soft boundary? Let's understand that also. So this is the case of a rigid boundary. Okay. Next up, let's understand that if we have a so-called soft boundary. So an example of a soft boundary would be this kind of situation. You have an air pipe kind of thing, but x equal to L is an open end of it. So what is happening is as these pressure waves they reach this open end, the air molecules here are free to displace. So at x equal to L, the longitudinal displacement is maximum at x equal to L. So there is a displacement antinode. Okay. So the moment there's a displacement antinode, it implies that there'll be a pressure node. So that implies there's a pressure node at x equal to L. So pressure node means that the volume stress at that point will be zero. So another way to understand this is because the molecules at the boundary x equal to L, this is an open end, okay, can move freely, okay, and adjust with any incoming energy such that the pressure is maintained as the pressure is maintained Okay, pressure is maintained at constant atmospheric pressure. Okay, so that's why the pressure amplitude is zero. So here what will happen is that a reflected pulse will come back with inverted phase. So that means reflection at the boundary x equal to L being a soft boundary is inverted in phase. So just understand this point here. As I told you, this one will become significant more when we come to um, what we call it, the standing waves in organ pipes, which is the next thing we'll study today. Okay. Now, interestingly, in this particular question, if you made a mistake of thinking that the pressure waves are returning from the wall with phase inversion, it will make no difference to your answer whatsoever. Okay, but it will make a difference to how you set up the question. Okay, so in this particular case, the condition for interference, the condition for constructive interference, that is that now your phase difference between the two waves will be just 2 pi by lambda into delta x, because there is no phase inversion from the reflected reflection of the wall. But if you assume that there was phase inversion from the reflection, you would say that this is this plus 2 pi, sorry, plus pi. No. So the condition for constructive interference is that your delta x, which is 2x prime, should be equal to n lambda. Okay. If you had by mistake assumed that there is phase inversion, okay, then you would have written your delta phi as pi plus 2 pi by lambda delta x. So your constructive interference condition would have been that delta x has to be n plus half lambda. So 2x prime should be n plus half lambda. But even then, it makes no difference to the answer. Okay, but this would be the wrong assumption. The right way to go about it is this, because there is no phase inversion. So this is the correct way. Okay. So now, if you move your observer by some minimum distance s like this, okay. So at the new position for the displacement s towards the wall, what is happening? Your new value of delta x is becoming minus s. Okay. Okay. So it is basically equal to the original value minus 2s. Okay. So now the condition is that we want the sound to change to destructive interference. So delta x prime should become n minus half lambda. Okay, because this was n lambda. So this is the nearest point for destructive interference. This is the nearest point at which we will get the destructive interference condition. So my delta x minus 2s should become n minus half lambda. Okay. So compare this equation with this equation now. So you can see that 2s should be equal to lambda by 2. So that minimum distance by which you should move should be lambda by 4. Okay. Now you can easily see that if you apply the phase inversion concept also, it makes no difference at all. You'll get the same answer for this, but only your equations will look different. You will get the condition for constructive interference is that delta x should be n plus half lambda. Destructive should be n lambda, because there's that extra term of pi. Okay, so hope this point is clear to all of you. So here the answer will become your lambda was v by f, so 340 meters per second divided by 1 kilohertz, so 34 centimeters. Okay, so lambda by 4 will become approximately or 8.5 centimeters. Okay, so hope the concept in this question is clear. So if you make the wrong assumption about the phase inversion, you will think that your path difference is going from an odd multiple of lambda by 2 to an even multiple of lambda by 2. If you make the correct assumption that there's no phase inversion, then you will say that, okay, it's changing from a multiple of lambda or an even multiple of lambda by 2 to an odd multiple of lambda by 2. But either way, you will conclude the same thing, that the displacement of the observer should be by lambda by 4. Okay, but that one will be the wrong assumption. This will be the correct assumption. So that's something to consider in this question. Okay, so let's take a break at this point and we will discuss about this thing, standing waves for sound, on the other side of the break. Okay, I'll just make a quick run through of the first question we had discussed because I missed it in the recording. So in case somebody will be seeing the recording later, they can cover up this, but you can take a break at this point of time. Okay, so in the first question, what we considered was this thing, that you have two sources S1 and S2 which are at a small distance d apart, and an observer who is moving in a circular path around them, circular with respect to their midpoint. Okay, now that small distance d was given to us in the question as 3 lambda, where lambda is the wavelength of the sound created by both S1 and S2. So they have a common frequency, common wavelength. Okay, and also S1 and S2 are in phase. So we wanted to calculate the different angular positions theta at which we will get constructive or destructive interference. So this is what the question was. So anybody who joined late missed the first question or going through this recording later. Okay. Also, what is given to us is that the radius of this circle along which this detector is moving, that radius is very large compared to D, this condition, or therefore very large compared to R. This also means that R is very large compared to small d. Okay. So this is what we are going to use while solving for the angular positions. So what we do is, of course, this is 3 lambda. So we understand that this position, you have the maximum path difference is 3 lambda. So maximum phase difference of 6 pi. Whereas at the symmetry points, which are these points here and here, at these points your path difference is 0. At these points delta x is 0. Okay. So your phase difference will also be 0. Whereas at these 2 points, your path difference is maximum. So your phase difference will also be maximum. So it varies between 3 lambda and 0. So obviously you'll get 4 points of destructive and 3 points of destructive and 4 points of constructive as you go from 3 lambda to 0. Now how to find the general expression for path difference at a point where the angular position is theta. So basically we have to calculate this thing. If this path from S1 to P is x1 and the path from S2 to P is x2, we have to calculate x1 minus x2. So this is where we bring in the triangle principle. So we look at this particular triangle OS2P and then this other triangle OS1P, and in each of these triangles we apply a combination of cosine rule and binomial approximation because D is very small compared to R. So applying that we get these two expressions for x2 and x1, and from there the rest of it is just mathematics. Okay, so so with the binomial approximation in place for this cosine rule, we can approximate x2 and x1 like this. So from that we can express the path difference delta x as this quantity. It becomes this becomes the next important equation. So this is coming as a result of these approximations. Okay, so once you got the path difference, from that you are generating the phase difference, which is this. And then as you can see, the phase difference is varying between 0 and 6 pi in terms of absolute value. Okay. So you have to just plug in the proper values of theta for which you are getting this delta phi to be an even multiple of pi for constructive or an odd multiple of pi for destructive. So those are these values. Here Q1, Q2, etc. refers to the quadrants. So in first quadrant, second quadrant, third and fourth, you get these solutions for constructive, and similarly these for destructive. Okay, so we'll just take a break of a few minutes and we'll discuss again after this. Okay, people, let's continue it from this point now. So next thing we look at is standing waves in sound. So when we talk about one-dimensional standing waves in sound, they are created in what is called organ pipes or air pipes, but of finite length. Whereas the one-dimensional traveling wave that we had discussed about, uh, that is a situation that we would imagine is happening in an air pipe or an organ pipe, but of length tending to infinity. So there are no reflections from any boundaries happening. Okay, so now coming to the next situation of superposition. Okay, which is standing waves. So one dimensional standing waves we will study as the harmonic modes. Okay, in an organ pipe. So the first situation of this we'll study about is what is called the open organ pipe. The term organ pipe comes from the fact that this is used in the musical instrument organ. It's one of the oldest instruments utilizing this situation of harmonics or standing waves of sound. So an open organ pipe is defined as one with both ends open. Okay, so it is a air pipe or what is called an organ pipe with both ends open. It has a finite length L, but at the same time L should be considerably larger to R, where R is the radius of the pipe. So it's a cylindrical kind of pipe that we're talking about. Okay. So geometrically, this would look something like this, but of course, keeping in mind that both the ends would be open. So when standing waves are created in this kind of a pipe by method of resonance, okay, so the method of resonance would be that you would bring a tuning fork as a source of sound near it. And if the frequency of the tuning fork matches the resonant frequencies or the modal frequencies of this, then you will hear an enhanced amount of sound, or the intensity of sound detected by you would be more than what the tuning fork on its own would create, because the vibrations of the tuning fork would resonate with the vibrating patterns of air inside this organ pipe, because there's a resonance between the two, because the frequency of vibrations of the tuning fork's prongs, if it matches the natural modes in which the air inside this pipe or this tube can vibrate, then there's an easy transfer of energy without too much dissipation between the two. So the energy created by the tuning fork's vibrating prongs, instead of dissipating, it creates sound energy, okay, through the mechanical vibrations of the longitudinal mechanical vibrations within this. Okay, so the modes of vibration possible here, so the modal frequencies, okay, or modes of vibration, okay, or the harmonic modes, whatever we choose to call this, okay, are such that both ends, that is x equal to 0 and let's say an x equal to L, taking this as our x axis, okay, both ends x equal to 0 and x equal to L are soft boundaries because they are both open. So this is where that point we discussed about soft boundaries and pressure waves becomes important. If they are soft boundaries, they are pressure nodes. And in the discussion of sound, we always prefer to describe sound as the pressure wave or the variation of stress and strain, the volume stress and strain in a medium, rather than the longitudinal displacement. So we will just by default treat them as nodes because by default, the description of sound that we are considering is the pressure aspect of it or the stress aspect of it. So we are always considering pressure waves. So there'll be standing waves, there'll be standing pressure waves created such that the boundary condition is that x equal to 0 and x equal to L have to be nodes. Okay. So the fundamental mode, therefore, will correspond to the mode where x equal to 0 and x equal to L are consecutive pressure nodes. Okay. So if we visualize in terms of pressure variation or pressure amplitude of vibration, then the variation of pressure amplitude with position. So P naught is the pressure amplitude, that is the volume stress, okay, at a position x at a time t. So that variation would now look like this. You have an antinode in between, and these 2 points are nodes. Okay. So if the velocity of sound is given by that formula, square root of gamma RT by m is nothing but square root of the Bulk's modulus, adiabatic Bulk's modulus divided by the density of the gas. Okay. So the fundamental frequency will be given by 1 by 2L square root of gamma RT by m. Because here what will happen is that lambda by 2 will become equal to L for the fundamental mode. So frequency will become speed of sound divided by lambda. So that is how we arrive at this formula. Okay. So it is analogous to the situation of rigid boundaries at the two ends of a string, but only here it is soft boundaries because their rigid boundaries correspond to transverse displacement node, and here soft boundary or open end corresponds to pressure nodes. Okay. And from this you can see that the harmonic series will also be the same. So if you draw a parallel or a comparison with the vibrations of a stretched string and the harmonic frequencies in that kind of case, see that this is the fundamental there. So these are consecutive nodes. So here we had the formula that was 1 by 2L square root T by mu. So here you just replace T by mu with the speed of sound formula. And like that, the modal frequencies are also going to be the same. So we are going to have both even and odd harmonics in this case because the two boundaries are nodes. So open organ pipe basically corresponds to a string with rigid boundary on both the sides. So both even and odd harmonics exist. Okay, so as you can see, the first overtone mode will be when there are basically three notes plus two anti notes. But always keep in mind that these are open boundaries. Open, open. So hence pressure node. But now one more node in between. So this situation. So here the length will become equal to lambda in the first overtone mode. So frequency will become, so frequency of the first overtone is 1 by L. Okay. Or first overtone is the second harmonic. So that kind of series. Okay. So like that, now the nth overtone mode, that will have n plus 2 nodes and n plus 1 antinodes. Okay, so that situation will correspond to this kind of a diagram there. So L becomes n plus 1 lambda by 2. So frequency of the nth overtone becomes n plus 1 by 2L, or n plus 1th harmonic of the fundamental. So this is very easy. This is exactly analogous to what we've done for transverse waves. Only you have to remember the difference, that here it is the open boundary or the soft boundary that corresponds to the pressure node. Whereas next case we'll see, when one end of the pipe is closed and the other end is open, the closed end will act like the pressure node. Sorry, the pressure antinode. The rigid boundary or the closed end will act like the pressure antinode. Yeah, sure. Okay, so next situation we'll see is the one which is actually the more standard case compared to the open organ pipe. The more commonly used one for resonance experiments and all. We'll discuss about the common resonance experiments also. But the more commonly used one is the closed organ pipe. But one should not confuse the name closed with both ends being closed. Okay, so you should try and remember that at least one end has to be opened for an organ pipe to work. So open organ pipe means both are open, whereas closed means one end is open and one end is closed. Okay, so that's just a convention used for the nomenclature. So closed organ pipe. This is a thin cylindrical air pipe or wind pipe or whatever with one end open and one end or the other end closed. Okay. So roughly speaking, we can make a diagram something like this to represent it. So for example, if in my diagram, you can take in any order, it doesn't matter. So in my diagram, x equal to 0 is the closed end and x equal to L is the open end. So the open end will act like a pressure node. This will be okay. Whereas the closed end will act like a pressure antinode. So my modal frequencies will look like this. The fundamental mode consists of one node plus one antinode. Sometimes we show it like this also. This is closed, this is open. So the closed end will have maximum variation of pressure, whereas the open end will have minimum variation of pressure or zero. So this distance between antinode and node, it becomes lambda by 4. Okay. So the fundamental mode corresponds to lambda by 4 being L. So the frequency of the fundamental mode is given by 1 by 4L. Okay. And the nth overtone will be the odd multiple of this 2n plus 1th harmonic. So the first overtone mode will be a situation where we now have two notes plus two antinodes. Oh, sorry, it's the other way around. The closed end is the antinode. So this is somewhat what your pressure variation will look like. So basically, Somadip, if the speed of sound is, if you use, like, if you have a situation like you're saying that on this side we have some kind of a membrane which is separating some other medium from this. Okay, so if the speed of sound in this medium is v1 and the speed of sound in this medium is v2. Okay. It really depends. Like, if this is a medium which is heavier to the extent that the it it can't create pressure variation over here. Oh, sorry, it can't create displacement over here. It will be treated like a rigid boundary. But if it is like some other gaseous medium, okay, which might be more dense, but at the same time, because it's an open end over here without being a membrane, if it's an open end over here which is just separating a gaseous medium and you're just momentarily looking at it, before gas starts leaking in or leaking out, or there's even a thin membrane, but that doesn't allow for any pressure differences. It only allows for the situation that the gas here is separated with respect to the gas here. Then the fact that the pressure in this medium will remain constant because it's a very large volume of gas. So small variations in pressure here will not create variations of pressure in that large volume. Then this has to be treated as a pressure node only. There won't be any variation of pressure. But on the other hand, if it's like, you have got a thin membrane which is separating some other kind of mechanical medium like some liquid etc from this, then there'll be large variation in pressure here. Because then the point will be that the liquid particles cannot move, so your membrane can't move, so it maintains zero displacement, so there's maximum pressure variation. So it really depends on how you are separating out the two media. Okay, but in normal applications of organ pipes we don't consider those kind of situations. We consider, things where inside also there is atmospheric air, outside also there's atmospheric air. The only difference is that there might be a wall in between or there might not be a wall, it might be an open boundary. So if it's an open boundary, then the pressure here has to be just equal to the pressure here. So it has to be equal to the atmospheric pressure without any stress and strain. Whereas if it's a closed boundary, then the air molecules here will be crushed and alternately expanded to the maximum, because the wall does not allow the pressure variation. I mean, the wall does not allow displacement. So if it does not allow displacement, the pressure variation is maximum, so it becomes an anti-node. So you can replace the wall with a membrane with some heavier material on that side. Okay, it will mimic that same thing. But likewise over here, you can replace with a membrane and some other gaseous medium on this side instead of air. But it will not matter. That gaseous medium will also maintain constant pressure. So it will be a pressure node. So if you were to hypothetically do something like this, that's how you treat it. But as I said, organ pipes normally we just stick to this kind of experimental condition. Is the point clear, Sumudip? Okay. So in this situation, you can see that this is lambda by 4 from here to here plus lambda by 2 from here to here. So 3 lambda by 4 becomes equal to the length of the organ pipe, or lambda is 4L by 3. So it's one third of lambda in this case. So your frequency of the first overtone will become 3 times. It will be 3 by 4L. So that's how we get the situation that the first overtone is the third harmonic. So only odd harmonics exist. So here in the nth overtone mode, we'll have n plus 1 nodes plus n plus 1 antinodes. Okay. That will correspond to a situation where 2n plus 1 lambda by 4 will be equal to L, or we can say n plus half lambda by 2 will be equal to L. So okay, so this is the formula for the open organ pipe. Sorry, closed organ pipe. One end open, one end closed. Very confusing at times, so you have to remember. Okay. So only odd harmonics. Yes. Yeah, I'm coming to resonance tube experiment. That comes in this case actually, because in resonance tube experiment, what we have is the resonating column of air is between an open end of the pipe and the level of water. So the surface of water, it acts like a rigid boundary. So there's maximum pressure variation. Whereas the open end of the pipe, a vertically placed pipe, the open end of it acts like the pressure node. So the vibrating column of air is between the surface of water, which is a pressure antinode, and the open end of the pipe, which is a pressure node. So it's only odd harmonics. So that is the related experiment that you have in your syllabus. This is called the resonance tube experiment. You might have done in your practicals also earlier in 11th. So resonance column experiment. Okay. So it's the equivalent of the sonometer experiment which you had seen earlier. But only in sonometer experiment you can vary a lot of things, because you can vary the tension in the string, the length of the string, both the things. So you can vary the speed of waves through the string as well as the length of the vibrating part. Here you cannot tamper with the speed of sound in the medium, because you're basically dealing with atmospheric air. But you can tamper with the length of the column which is vibrating, and that is what we do. So basically you have this kind of situation. Oops. So what we have is a long kind of cylindrical pipe, cylindrical tube kind of thing, glass tube, which is open at this end. And of course this is closed. Okay. So it has a known length L. But now what we do is we fill water up to a variable height. So we can adjust. So the water column is of some height h. So then the vibrating column of air that we are discussing about now, that becomes of effective length of L minus h. Okay. Then what we do is we bring a sound source like a tuning fork of certain frequency f. So resonance occurs, or resonance is observed. That means a loud sound will be observed. Like when you blow into a bottle, you hear a louder sound. That kind of resonance is observed when this matches one of the modal frequencies. So the modal frequencies will be 2n plus 1 by 4 times this length now, L minus h, to square root of gamma RT by m. Okay. So what that means is that, suppose if for h equal to h naught, that is the minimum height of water, okay, the first resonance is observed. Okay. So the first time you're hearing the resonance is when you started from zero water and there was no resonance. So you kept increasing the level of water till the level of water hit this first value where you're hearing the louder sound. So you are able to detect that, okay, there's resonance happening. So when that happens, this minimum height h naught corresponds to now this point being a pressure antinode and this point being a pressure node. So this length that you have over here, L minus h naught, this L minus h naught is the distance between node and antinode. So it is some 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. Sorry, lambda by 4. Some n plus half lambda by 2, like that. Okay. Now for h equal to h1, which is h naught plus some delta h, you hear the second resonance. That means from this position where you heard the resonance, now you started increasing the level of water again. So when the level of water reached somewhere here, you heard the second resonance. Okay. So that means the level of water again reached a point where in the natural air column here, there would be another antinode. So you would have to increase the level of water, h1 minus h naught, or this delta h. The distance between the first and second resonance would have to be how much? Antinode to antinode. So it would have to be lambda by 2. So by measuring this difference, now we are able to measure the frequency of the tuning fork. Okay. So therefore the frequency of the tuning fork will correspond to speed of sound divided by that lambda. So it will be root gamma RT by M divided by 2 times delta H. So this is how we are able to accurately measure the frequency of the tuning fork, or experimentally verify the frequency of the tuning fork, or you can even verify the speed of sound if you know the frequency of the tuning fork and you measure the resonances. So the minimum distance by which the water column has to be increased in height to go from one resonance to the next resonance, that corresponds to half the wavelength, because you're going from one antinode point to another antinode point, one pressure antinode to another pressure antinode. So have you understood this concept here? So a lot of questions in sound are going to be based on this resonant column experiment. But of course, the better quality questions for advanced will be some variation of this. We'll discuss that also. Okay. Now, there is one experimental, fact, or you can say one experimental error kind of condition that occurs, which you have to know about. So experimentally, what happens is that the pressure node which is supposed to occur at the open end occurs actually slightly above the open end, and that typically happens because the actual geometry of the waveform is more complex. It's not a one dimensional standing wave, it's in cylindrical space. That standing wave is in cylindrical space, so it's more like a three-dimensional wave. So the more the cylinder tends in shape to a rod, that is, the more the ratio of L versus R, where R is the radius of the tube, the less will be this error. Okay, but obviously there will be some experimental error. So there is an experimental error kind of thing that occurs, that is, the actual pressure node is not exactly at the open end, at the top of the tube. Okay, the actual pressure node actually occurs slightly above. So if you take a closed end like this and an open end over here, the actual pressure node will actually occur somewhere here, whereas the antinode will be here. So when you have some kind of resonance like this, so this distance by which it overshoots is called the end correction. Okay, so it's not exactly at the open end, the it is slightly outside, and that delta x is experimentally determined to be 0.6 times the diameter, or 0.3 times the radius. Oh, sorry, the other way around, 0.6 times the radius, which is 0.3 times the diameter. So here, by radius or diameter, we mean for the cylindrical pipe. Okay. So this here is one diameter or twice of radius. Okay. So this value is called the end correction. So you'll see questions in which the question instructs you to neglect end correction, whereas there might be some questions where you have to take end correction into account. So when end correction is taken into account, now what happens is that this n plus half lambda, n plus half lambda by 2, which is supposed to be L minus H, okay, in this formula. With end correction, what happens here is that when we incorporate the end correction concept here, this formula that we did, that n plus half lambda by 2 is the length of the vibrating column. So it's the effective length. So that effective length becomes L plus delta x minus H, where H is the water column, where delta x is the end correction. So it is 0.6 times the radius. So that is something you have to understand in detail. Okay. So, with this, you can complete maximum problems of sound now, other than problems involving Doppler's effects and beats, which will be the last part of sound we'll discuss. Okay. So next lecture, we will cover both those things. Doppler's effect, which is the shift in frequency because of relative motion between source and detector, and the concept of beats. Beats comes from the superposition of sound of different frequencies. Interference is the superposition of sound of identical frequencies. Beats is when the frequencies are different but close to each other. So two sounds coming from sources which have nearly the same frequency but not exactly the same. Some, up to 3 or 4 or 5 hertz difference in frequency. So you will hear a particular effect which is called beats. Okay. We'll discuss about that. And Doppler's effect is the shift in frequency because of relative motion between source and observer. So that will complete sound. Okay, so next time we'll be able to complete the yeah, I have already sent the module now, Sudhir, of waves and sound. Okay, so anyway, I will resend it once more. Okay, and also complete HC Verma, everything to do with standing waves and interference of sound. So you'll see the questions in HC Verma are in order only. Okay, okay, I'll resend it. Don't worry. Okay, I'll resend it. Okay, so hope everything is clear in this lecture today. Okay, and like most of the things that we learned today are not anything particularly new. You're familiar with it, but just few subtle points that you have to remember where transverse and longitudinal waves are different. Reflection at the boundary, which case is the node, which case is the antinode, and also the concept of end correction in the standing waves. These are a couple of extra things. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for attending, people, and please continue with the problems and try to finish maximum part of HC Verma at least by next time. Next time we'll finish the theory part of sound. Okay, so that will complete this section. Maybe 1 or 2 more lectures for questions, but theory will be done.